Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is the Happy Hour.
You guys going to happy hour?
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America.
Yeah, I'll come for a couple.
Here are your hosts, Nick Sainert.
I want to know what it's like to commit a crime without having to spend time in jail.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
C is for chunk.
Brought to you by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome into the happy hour. 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. I am Rico, joined by none other than not Nick Sainert, but two other wonderful people, as the one and only Austin Orman and Jay Foreman join the happy hour. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Great. Now that I get to you, Rico. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic after last night. Nebraska basketball over the Indiana Hoosiers in probably a fashion that not a lot of people saw coming. I know I didn't. I don't know about you guys, but Nebraska at one point was up by 20 points on a 10-3 Indiana team with 3 losses coming to ranked teams, including a 5-point loss to Kansas. I mean, what did you guys see out of that?
I mean, I think they just played with tremendous amount of pace. I think getting Rink back, I think it settled things down. I know Ware on their team had, I think, 20 points, and he was, at times it looked unstoppable. But, I think Rink, he only had 8 points, but he was extremely physical. So he was matching bucket for bucket. So he went 8 for 8. So he kind of took a little bit of wind out of their sails. So Indiana was never really in a position to take control of the game. And I think Nebraska did a really good job of team defense, right? Timely double teams and then active hands. I remember one in particular, Jamarcus Lawrence, in front of Nebraska's bench. They came with a little bit of a delayed, I'll call it a baseline double, where Rink Mass or the inside defender was playing high and the guy came from behind, and then Jamarcus Lawrence caught him slipping. Then you go right from there. You're in a fast break, and so I felt like it led to good shooting. I think they probably shot better than maybe usual, but I think the ball movement and the extra pass and the spacing with Rink back, and then also bringing Josiah off the bench with Gary being physical and active, I think it just was a good team win, and they took control of the game. They withstood a run, and usually with Nebraska teams in the past, when a team would make a run, they would not only let them get back in the game, but then be down some points. Nebraska actually withstood it and then always got it back up to. So if they got it down to 7, next thing you know, after a few possessions, Nebraska's up 11, maybe 12. So they always kept the foot on the gas.
They did. If I gave you the numbers that Indiana shot 47% from the field, 50% from 3, and out-rebounded Nebraska by 7, you're probably not feeling that great about that game. But you look at Nebraska having 15 steals out of 19 turnovers for Indiana. That's a lot of live ball turnovers. That's a lot. That's a lot of possessions that Indiana gave away. And you see that they take only 8 fewer shots, but they get to the free throw line 7 fewer times and shoot 14 fewer threes. Yeah, not a great shooting team, but I think Nebraska's defensive activity was good. Right. They forced Indiana, you heard Mike Woodson say it, to kind of overthink what they were doing. Yep. Try to get, a little something extra going just because they were struggling at some points. But Rink Mass presence was nice. And I'm glad you brought up the ball movement. Both teams, I thought, did a pretty darn good job passing the ball. 15 assists on 27 made shots for Nebraska, 19 on 24 for Indiana. High-level skip passing, a lot of drive and kick, good lobs to Ware from Indiana. So really the turnovers are the story of the game for me. Just how many possessions Nebraska got that were extra and how many points off of those turnovers. They ended up with darn near 30 points off of turnovers in a 16-point game.
They had 3 or 4 possessions, or Indiana had 3 or 4 possessions where Nebraska forced to steal or got their hands on the ball above the 3-point line, which then led to fast break points. And, to be honest with you, Nebraska, you got to give them credit for not turning it over that much, because I felt like Indiana all 5 of their guys were real handsy, right? Where it means they were constantly touching them. They were trying to, pit pocket them and just pop the ball out. Nebraska did a really good job of handling the ball and also being aggressive. You saw some 50-50 balls where I know there's a couple. Sam Hoiberg got a couple ticky-tack fouls that could have gone either way. C.J. Wilcher was diving on the floor, should have got a foul called against him, a loose ball foul.
And the knee to the back.
Sam Hoiberg got a foul, but he was playing. So what they were doing, they were imposing their effort and their will on the game. But I think, one thing, Austin, I think Indiana's lineup, look, they're extreme. I mean, they're a good-looking basketball team.
Yes.
What do you think? Was it Galloway or Galloway? Yeah. Galloway. He's the former Indiana Player of the Year. He's a 6'4" guy that he can bust your head wide open from outside.
Just ask Kansas,
right? And he's a physical dude, right? He must have went somewhere over Christmas break because he was like Casper the Ghost came back. He got some good tan, but they're big right? You got the big guy in the middle. Number 5's big. Number 4's big. I think that hurts against a team like Nebraska because one thing Indiana doesn't do offensively. They don't run. I call it secondary cuts.
Okay.
So, or they don't dive off the double team. So if my guy goes in double team, I have to get into a position most likely where Ware can hit me for an easy bucket. They're real stationary, and they never adjusted, and they didn't get much out of their guards. And it was kind of was it Cubs that came in?
Yeah.
He provided a good spark, hit a couple outside shots, but then Nebraska adjusted to him. So I felt like Nebraska was the better team. They played better. Indiana didn't play bad. Nebraska just played that much better.
Something that I love watching about Nebraska is their defensive focus and the way that they talk constantly on defense, the way that they're constantly switching regardless of the screens. You've got one person down in the paint running to the opposite corner to cover somebody. That other person is running to the top of the key. Like, just the way that they're constantly communicating and constantly moving on the defensive end is something that I just love watching this Nebraska team, because it's something that maybe you haven't seen, or there's still a couple of lazy closeouts from time to time, but for the most part, everybody is active, completely active. You'll get a couple of mismatches. You'll have Rink Mass on a point guard at the top. You'll have Jamarcus Lawrence on Ware down in the paint, and that's where you get a couple of those lobs. But for the most part, the activity on the defensive end, which led to a lot of the tip passes, a lot of the steals, a lot of the Casey or Sam coming in when they try to get it into Ware in the paint, coming in and snatching it from him when he goes down to try and get that one dribble before he goes up for the dunk. That's something that I just really enjoy watching for Nebraska, is just the defensive side of the ball.
It's that activity and that effort that I think has to be Nebraska's calling card, because there's like half of 1.5 lockdown defenders on this team. I think Juwan Gary can do it when he's engaged.
Yeah.
And Sam Hoiberg, got that reputation. He's gotten cooked a couple times this year, but he's going to compete and can come in and change the flow of the game.
Jamarcus Lawrence can defend it. So it's more or less a want-to thing.
It's a mentality.
Right. But if you look at Rink Mass, Josiah Alec, Bryce Williams, those guys I think are positional defenders, right? Casey Tominaga has to be opportunistic, right? Has really good hands. You see him kind of swipe down as a big man's going up and get away with it a few times. Eli Rice, I think that's part of it for him too, is he learns the defensive side of the ball. CJ Wilcher, definitely a positional defender, more so than a lockdown guy. So I think that has to be Nebraska's calling card. If you're not going to be able to keep your guy in front of you, like, no doubt about it, clamp him down, then you have to be one rotation ahead. You have to be thinking ahead. Yeah. What's the next pass that they want to make? Can I jump this passing lane? Can I beat my guy to the spot by one step to take this away from him? That's where I think that effort, that activity come into play for this Husker team.
And that's something that we discussed last week or early this week, where Nebraska doesn't have that dude in the paint who's going to intimidate and impose his will. He's not going to block shots left and right. So what they do is they're going to have to jump passing lanes. They're going to have to tip the ball. They're going to have to get a lot of steals. And that's exactly what you saw them do yesterday against a very physical, very big Indiana team, is that they're jumping passing lanes. They're getting steals. They're doing everything that you need to do as a feisty, smaller team, even though you have Rink and Josiah Alec. Both of those guys are 6'8" and 6'10", 6'11", but it's not, Rink isn't like a physical shot blocking 6'10".
No,
like he's the European 6'10". It's a little more finesse.
Yeah, but he's physical,
which isn't a problem. He is physical,
and he's strong too. I think what Nebraska is doing, and you got to give a shout. I'm gonna give a shout out to Coach Nate on their staff here when they brought him in, and the whole coaching staff. But I think in particular, he really was brought in to bring a different look and mindset to Nebraska's defense, right? He'll run some zone. He'll do a little, 3-quarter, full quarter, traps and kind of, we can call it a press, but just to kind of change the pace of the game. He brought a different concept to their half court defense. And I think it was welcomed by Coach Hoiberg. And then when the head coaches welcome it, and then it's the standard, that's where you saw them start to play really good basketball towards the end of the year last year, going into the Big Ten championship. Obviously, didn't perform up to their standard, the Big Ten championship, but that's where you saw it. And then it took a look, I think they started out decent this year. I think, I was talking to Strick. I want to give Strick props. I think they hopefully learned from Creighton in the Minnesota game, the emphasis on the little things, the closeouts, the communication, and you see just a way better product. And they looked a lot more energy, and it was very clean. It was a very clean game, both sides, but it was a very clean game defensively for Nebraska.
It absolutely was. I want to go back to something you said too about kind of the styles of Indiana and Nebraska, where Indiana's playing those two bigs. Both Ware and Renault can stretch a little bit, but they don't
Especially
shoot
Renault.
a lot of threes. Enough, but not a whole lot.
That set shot was ugly.
It was. Nebraska's offense, I think, has looked better with Juwan Gary in the starting lineup because there's not a whole lot of high-low in college basketball these days. If you're going to play a Renault and a Ware, you're going to play an Alec and a Mass together. I think it's harder in this modern college game to space from elbow down to block or even top the three-point line down to block and get that post-to-post entry. So having Josiah Alec coming off the bench, I think it's been huge to give Nebraska really that true 5 outlook, sometimes 4 round 1 with Mass that we haven't seen as much from Indiana. They're trying to play that kind of traditional 90s style of basketball. The Kentucky tried to play with 2 big guys, right? Your length, your height can be an advantage, but we saw it from Indiana last year too with Race Thompson, who couldn't stretch the floor, and Trace Jackson Davis, who was only at the elbow. Indiana hasn't really modernized, right? Height can do some good things for you, but you have to have at least some measure of skill to go along with it. Indiana has more, and I'm a little surprised we don't see something a little more, modern pace and space-ish from them because their 2 bigs have the ability to do it.
Yeah, I think the problem that they were running in is that maybe the bigs have the ability to do it, but the problem is last year they had the lottery pick that went to the Lakers.
Petrofino.
Yeah, but they don't have anybody now.
Right.
And
Xavier Johnson just came back.
Right, and so they have lack of experience, and then obviously it's going to take a little bit for that ability to get there. So they're a little bit, handcuffed right now, but I think that overall, I think just Nebraska played better, and then Indiana playing good. And that's just, that's a check into however long ago, not last year, even the year before, a little bit, where Fred Hoiberg made a conscious effort to build a team versus a bunch of good individual players. Guys are playing their roles. And, the best thing I want to say before we go to break, we have guys like a CJ Wilcher that had some struggles, and he started to come on last year. I said it, when we were in old school. I just felt like this is a game for him. Came out, he had the heat check. You hit 2, you got to shoot the third one. He had to wait a possession and then hit another one. So when you have a guy like that went from a starter that didn't leave, welcomed his role, then you got Gary Finn, where he's at, then you got Williams, who's a new guy. They know he's kind of smooth operator. He's a guy I know they tried to do a little bit of like what Greasel tried to back down. It's not there yet. But what I like to see is something that they can go to when times get tough. Rank Mass at the top of the key with Josiah Alec or whoever it is. If push comes to shove, we'll keep running pin downs and curl picks. And as soon as you make a mistake, K-State going to let it fly. Bang. And then everybody else is going to go off for that. So I was very impressed.
Regardless of how he's shooting in a game, regardless of how his season has started, that man has never lost confidence, and I don't think he ever will. We talked a lot of Nebraska's defense in this first segment. I kind of want to get to Nebraska's offense and Keisei Tominaga kind of going to that mid-range, going to that floater, something that I don't know, not that he was avoiding, just something that he hasn't really shown early in the season so far in the non-con, but now this third Big Ten game, he went to it a little bit more, and it was very effective and opened up a couple more threes for him. But we'll get to that. Maybe Nick will be back. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Up next on the Happy Hour.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. More of the happy hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
This is Jeff Essing, owner of Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping and host of Fitness Fanatics. Over the years, we've helped countless people gain strength, lose fat, build confidence, and change their life. And it all starts with the Farrell's 10-Week Challenge. Now is the best time to sign up with the new year right around the corner. You can enroll for the January 10-Week Challenge for only $299. That's 10 weeks of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. Head to fxblincoln.com for more information on how to enroll. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill and 70th and Vine.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beers, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Liberty Law Group is committed to the defense of liberty for those accused and the pursuit of justice for those injured. Liberty Law Group's relentless trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and personal injury law. Navigating the legal system can be stressful, overwhelming, and full of uncertainty. We believe in treating every client with respect, compassion, and understanding. When you're in need of legal assistance, trust Liberty Law Group to fight for you. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. That's 877-42-LIBERTY.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex at West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf.
Landmark Implement is your local authorized John Deere dealer. Landmark's trained and certified sales staff will help you find the right equipment for your needs at a price that's right for you, all backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network. Whether it's a tractor, planter, combine, an easy track lawnmower, or gator, every piece of equipment in pre-owned inventory is put through a rigorous inspection so it's ready to work hard for you. Landmark's team works together to make sure everything is sold meets their quality standards. Learn more at landmarkimp.com or stop into a local Landmark location and experience the Landmark difference.
This is Rick Heyman from Sartor Heyman Jewelers, inviting you to our new outlet jewelry store at 12th and O in downtown Lincoln. Amazingly, we still have fabulous items we bought 1 year ago and beyond. Well, you know what an outlet store is. Unbeatable prices throughout the store. Closeouts up to 70% off. Don't delay. When it's gone, it's gone. You won't see everything on our website, so you gotta come in. The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Opening November 25th in Lincoln at 12th and O.
If you want all the latest technologies from those big banks, but you also want that hometown feel when you walk in the front doors, choose Midwest Bank. They have top-notch technology. They make banking so easy, and they also have the friendliest staff, who will take their time to get to know you and treat you like family. You get the best of both worlds when you choose Midwest Bank. I live on the go, and now I can bank on the go. With Midwest Bank, I have everything I need at my fingertips. I'm volleyball player Allie Batenhorst, and at Midwest Bank, you'll love banking here.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
If Ewers throws that ball to the front pylon, Texas might have tied that game up and had a chance to win it.
That moment right there, it's one of those moments that every young man dreams about. There's two outcomes in that moment. You're a gamer or you tense up.
You're a gamer or you're a goner.
Or you're a goner.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. 93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see some areas of fog. Otherwise, cloudy skies are expected for today. We'll see higher on 35. Tonight, mainly cloudy skies with a low around 25. And tomorrow, mainly cloudy skies will continue throughout the day. We'll see a high around 37. I'm meteorologist Kyle Klecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert.
I don't believe you people.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
What do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people? Huh?
Sponsored by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome in. Welcome back for those who are hanging out for the first segment. Thanks to Rico, Austin, and Jay for holding down the fort for that first segment. Nick Sainert now with you. Rico's still here as well. 402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline and the Starter Heyman text line open for you guys the rest of the way here. We'll be with you until 2 o'clock. You can join us on the Starter Heyman Jewelers live video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Allo Channel 951 as well. Okay, so I know you guys were talking Nebraska and Indiana in that first segment. We're going to talk plenty of Huskers and Hoosiers as we continue on in the noon hour.
I know you want to talk about it.
Yeah, defensive-wise, Nebraska played really well last night, right? What was it, 19 turnovers they forced Indiana to commit. 15 of those were steals. I'm pretty sure I saw it was reported earlier that they have 31 steals over their last 2 games, which is a stat to certainly hang your hat on if you're Nebraska's defense.
I like that.
Offensively, though, Nebraska with a really, really nice performance last night. And I said this coming in this morning, I believe, was that, hey, listen, if you're going to shoot, I think they shot 46% from the field last night. It wasn't that Indiana shot poorly, shot 47%, but Nebraska in a lot of their games, especially the ones that they lost to Creighton and they lost to Minnesota, at least in the second half, field goal shooting percentage was really, really poor.
Very garbage.
They shot 2 of 22 from beyond the arc against the Creighton Blue Jays. They could not, hit water if they fell out of a boat. Here's the thing. When you look at Nebraska last night, they were able to hit the 3 ball. I know they shot a lot of them. I think they shot like 32 threes, shot 12 of 32 from 3. And that's the case. Like, Nebraska had really, really good ball movement yesterday. Like, there were shots that maybe in the first half they didn't have as great of movement on offense, but in the second half we saw Juwan Gary maybe not take as many contested shots before he got out of the game due to foul trouble. We saw Keisei Tominaga start to catch fire, but it wasn't because he was taking poor shots. It was because he was moving without the basketball. And AD talked about it this morning, Strick talked about it this morning, where there was a one in the corner, in the near corner, on the left side of the floor in the second half, where Keisei could have had a contested 3. He got the pump fake, or got the defender to fly by on the shot fake. Takes two steps in and 1 dribble, and he hits about an 18-footer from the baseline. Things like that will help you win games. Higher percentage shots, and that's one thing about Keisei. He really has developed the inside shot despite being one of the smallest guys on the floor, and that is extremely beneficial, not only for Keisei, but also for Nebraska's offense.
That is something that I wanted to talk about, was that Casey, who is known for being a sniper from deep, a shot that he has worked on and a shot that he had in his bag last year is that floater, one that we hadn't seen in the non-con, one that we hadn't seen in this first half or whatever of the season, because he was taking, well, first off, because he was injured and he wasn't playing all that much, but then because he was just taking threes, trying to get that groove back, trying to find that stroke from deep back. But in this one, he hit a couple threes, and then he used that to his advantage. Again, moving without the ball, getting those layups, going backdoor, getting those reverse layups, which is something that he does a really good job of and has really nice touch on those. But the floater, using the pump fake to get into the lane, a couple steps away from the basket, and making that decision to float it over the 7-footer, because knowing if he goes in there, maybe he'll draw a foul, but more than likely he'll just get blocked. So that floater and that mid-range shot, like the one you talked about, pump faking, getting the defender to fly by, taking 2 steps and swishing that from the baseline, those shots are going to be there for Casey, because everybody's scared of him hitting the 3, catching fire from deep, and hitting from the logo like he did last night on a busted play, which was fantastic. But with that shot in his bag, that mid-range, that floater, that 19-foot pull-up, that is going to open up so much more of the offense for Nebraska, especially with his ability to move without the ball and the passing ability of Jamarcus Lawrence, of Juwan Gary, of Rink Mass in that, free throw area.
It's interesting. I look at the box scores, right, from last night, and in a game where Nebraska wins by 16, in the first half, Nebraska shot 4 of 16 from beyond the arc. Now, part of this was Nebraska had 6 turnovers in the first half compared to just 2 in the second half offensively. Now, what I will say, CJ Wilcher was the guy with all the answers in the first half. 3 of 5 from beyond the 3-point line for CJ Wilcher coming off the bench. He's really embraced that 6th man role. When you look at the starters, Nebraska, Casey went 1 for 4 in the first half from beyond the 3-point line. Lawrence went 0 for 3. Juwan Gary went 0 for 1. He shot a contested 3. Sam Hoiberg shot a 3 at the end of the shot clock as well. That all calculates and adds up to 4 of 16 from beyond the 3-point line. They couldn't involve Josiah Alec down low, I guess. In the first half, they didn't necessarily try to either. And it's because, like Rico said, you had the 7-footer Kel Ware down there who had 2 blocks on the night. It felt like he had a much bigger presence. Now,
that first block that he sent into like the 27th row.
Yep.
My goodness.
It was pretty intense. It could have been a goaltend. He did get called for 1 goaltend later in the second half.
It was definitely a goaltend.
But that made Nebraska, this was what was so impressive, was that with a little bit of defense mixed with their decent offensive performance in the first half, they were still up by 8 at the break. They were still up 41-33 at halftime, despite shooting. Yes, they shot from the field 48% in the first half, but they shot 25% from beyond the 3-point line, and they shot 16 threes in that first half. They shot a lot of threes. Now in the second half, right, you look at the adjustments, and it was, okay, how can we continue to involve Rink Mass? How can we maybe get Casey Tominaga into a rhythm? And he certainly did in that second half. When you had CJ Wilcher dealing with back spasms, when you had 2 early fouls on Bryce Williams, Juwan Gary dealt with a little bit of foul trouble. Now, and frankly, the refereeing was just not very good either. The refereeing was really disappointing, especially when it came to like offensive fouls and moving screens, and they called a couple on Rink Mass.
It was confusing because they're calling some ticky-tack fouls, and then they're letting them play in other instances.
So you look at the drastic difference, and understanding that, hey, maybe Indiana and Kel Ware is going to be able to kind of dominate the paint defensively against you while you're on offense. What do you have to do? You have to start shooting at a little bit higher of a percentage than maybe 25%. Well, they doubled it. They shot 8 of 16 from beyond the 3-point line in the second half. Casey Tominaga was a big part, had 6 threes in the second half. He finishes with 28 points altogether. He shot 6 of 9 from beyond the 3-point line, or excuse me, 6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 6 from beyond the 3-point line. I misspoke there. Also was 3 of 3 from from the free throw line.
6 of 9 from beyond the 3-point line.
Yeah, that would be pretty intense.
I don't think PBA would be standing.
But Casey Tominaga goes 6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 6 from beyond the 3-point line. Bryce Williams, how about him in the second half? He had to sit down he only recorded 5 minutes on the floor in the first half because of early foul trouble. He got sat down with about 15 minutes to play with in the first half with 2 fouls. So he then plays 18 of the 20 minutes in the second half, does Bryce Williams. And with that, he goes 3 of 4 from beyond the 3-point line, has 9 second half points, 4 rebounds, and 3 steals. A really, really nice second half for Bryce Williams, offensively for Nebraska. So we saw, right, in previous games, Juwan Gary kind of was the guy. Yep. Juwan Gary was fully the guy. Rink Mass was kind of dealing with the injury, had the procedure, and we saw maybe against North Dakota where Juwan Gary kind of took that thing over. Well, now, last night, it goes to exactly what we discussed in yesterday's show. Bryce Williams has a really nice game, takes the pressure off of Juwan Gary, who just finished with 4 points. Not because Juwan didn't get good looks, it just wasn't his night. Mm-hmm. He only played 8 minutes in the second half. He played 20 minutes as a whole, and it just wasn't his night. Jamarcus Lawrence, how about this? In terms of plus minus while you're on the floor, Jamarcus Lawrence had the highest plus minus of anybody on Nebraska's roster last night. Had a really, really nice game. 12 points. He shot 4 of 5 from the field in the second half. Had just a really, really nice game. 2 steals, couple boards, and shot 2 of 3 from beyond the 3-point line when he went over from the field in the first half. Mm-hmm. So we saw maybe the green light going with a little more willingness to shoot from Jamarcus Lawrence, who shot 6 threes last night. I thought the guard play in last night's game against Indiana was much better than maybe it has been in games past.
Yeah, the guards really stepped up in that game, and that was something that we were kind of discussing because of the height advantage and the size that Indiana had in the paint against Nebraska. At least in my mind, I was thinking that the guards were going to have to step up because the bigs were going to be working extremely hard on the defensive end. But again, with the foul trouble that Indiana and Nebraska were dealing with, Indiana was down to 1 big for most of the first half and a little bit of the second half, just because of the foul trouble and trying to avoid somebody fouling out way too early. So Nebraska's bigs were, again, not able to feast, but were able to get a really, really good looks. Rink Mass in that hook shot in the second half. That one really came alive for him, and that was big for Nebraska. But the guard play with Jamarcus Lawrence, with Bryce Williams, who's a point forward of sorts, with Keisei Tominaga, with Juwan Gary, he's more of a forward, but whatever you want to go with there. Mm-hmm. They all stepped up in big ways. Juwan Gary, again, only 4 points, but a big, just some timely rebounds and just timely, strong defensive plays from Juwan, where you don't have to have him be that guy, as we've talked about with this team for weeks on end. You don't have to have one guy be the dude to step up and lead your team to victory when you have so many people who can step up. Yes, Tominaga had 26, 28 points, but Bryce Williams with his 9 points in the second half, Jamarcus Lawrence with all of his points and his timely passes, his timely buckets, Rink Mass pouring in some points and all of that. Like, everybody stepped up in big ways, but the guard play with Tominaga, again, with that mid-range shot and his, can we call this a Tominaga breakout game? 20-plus points.
I think it was. This was the most Keisei-esque game that we've had this season.
Yeah, and that this again could be a springboard to, again, I'm not saying that he's going to do what he did and go on that tear like he did last season, where he's scoring 25 plus or 30 points in like 3 straight games or whatever he did. But this is a way to get him back into that groove again, with the mid-range, with the 3-pointers, with everything, and have that ability to look for him, because again, he never has and never will lose the confidence to take a 3, whether it be a deep 3 or whether it be a 3 with somebody's hand in his face. Once he gets that feeling back, he's going to hit more than he misses, as he did last season. Again, you're not going to ask him to score 30 points a game because you have more play going on from everybody else, but the guards for Nebraska in a game where the bigs for Indiana were pretty effective and were, again, not blocking shots, but just altering shots left and right. The guards really stepped up in a big way to lead Nebraska to this win. And it makes you feel really good going forward, because we talked about, I think we talked about it yesterday, this 3-game stretch. If you can be 1-1 going into Purdue, well, you got that 1 win. Who knows? Maybe you can, and this is, I'm not looking forward because it's your next game, but who knows? If you play like you did against Indiana, maybe you could be 2-0 going into Purdue, and I don't even know what PBA is going to look like if that's the case.
I think a couple stats a couple more statistics that kind of jump out to me personally when you're looking at last night's game against Indiana. Nebraska 27 points off of turnovers, right? They were not only able to force 19 of those, but also get points off of turnovers. They did get out rebounded by Indiana 36-29, but Nebraska had more second chance points. Nebraska also added 18 bench points, and despite having a big man in the lane, Kellel Ware, who was coming back from COVID, you were still able to get 24 points in the paint against the Indiana Hoosiers. You also had 15 assists. I mean, not very often are you going to see the same number of assists as you do steals. Normally, that assist number is probably going to be a little bit higher, but
it's a pretty good. That's a pretty good stat right there.
Nebraska able to get the best of Indiana last night, and it was never really close. I think that's the most impressive thing for me personally about last night's performance was that throughout the entire game, once Nebraska jumped out, I don't know what mark it was in the first half here. I can find it, I mean, really quickly here. When Nebraska went on the, let's see, so they trailed by 3, it looks like. No, excuse me. They trailed by 2, 13-11, at the 14-20 mark in the first half. Ever since Nebraska then, from the 13-51 mark up until, let's see, basically the end of the game, Nebraska slowly started to pull away. And they went into half with 4 minutes. You had a 6-point lead at 34-28. At the 2-minute mark in the first half, you had an 8-point lead, 38-30. Then you got it up to as much as 10 on a jumper on a hook shot by Rink Mast in the paint.
Love that
with 2 minutes. And eventually you, after the Anthony Walker free throws with 24 seconds left, you got a 41-33 lead going into the break. Now, after that,
at one point, Nebraska led by 20 points.
Yes, they did. But my point is, like, even in the second half, you come out and you play pretty well at the start of the second half. You get out to a 51-36 lead with 16 minutes left. You then have it, eventually it gets back to a 9-point lead when Gabe Cupps, by the way, who played with Bronny in high school, Gabe Cupps for Indiana shoots a 3-point shot with 15 minutes left in the game, cuts it down to 9. After that, Nebraska never really allowed them to get closer. It was never like a 6-point differential. It was never a case of where you're like, man, this is really getting close. Nebraska needs to make a shot here. Like maybe those internal thoughts, but nobody said that outwardly where it was like, this is getting into crunch time. You got to figure out a way to do something. Nebraska kept him at arm's length. Like Nebraska did to Indiana last night what they've done for the most part all season. Oregon State was always kept at arm's length. Kansas State, same exact way. Michigan State was kept at arm's length. And eventually you ice the game in 2 ways. Defensive stops and free throws. Yeah, and Nebraska did both of those last night.
You never had that edge of your seat moment where you sat there and thought, where Indiana has the ball on offense, if they hit this shot, Nebraska's in trouble. You never really had that yesterday or last night. So that's something that Nebraska has really improved on. And we were talking about in the first segment. You go back to the Creighton game. 2 things that they took away from the Creighton and the Minnesota game. Yeah, like in the Creighton game, effort. Just working harder and making sure that you're not lazily closing out and you're not taking plays off on defense. And the Minnesota game, finishing.
Yeah.
Finish the game. And that's exactly those 2 things are the 2 things that they put into play last night against Indiana. They had great effort. There were a couple, again, it happens from time to time, a couple lazy closeouts and Indiana made them pay. But, they fixed that as the game went on and they finished the game. Like you said, they led by 8 or whatever at halftime, and then they just built their lead up and kept them at a safe distance where they didn't have to, call a timeout, go into a huddle and say, look, we need this next shot because if we don't, we are in trouble. They never had that moment, and that's something that you can look at this team and have a lot of confidence in going forward.
So Nebraska now, as everybody knows, faces Wisconsin on Saturday, 1:15 p.m. tip-off on the Big Ten Network. Now, when you look at the Badgers, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Badgers tomorrow, they've gotten a couple nice wins this season. Against Michigan State on the road, they won by double digits. They beat Marquette, who's a top 10 team at home. They lost to Arizona by 25 points back on December 9th. they're going to be coming off of a victory against Iowa on Tuesday in the form of an 11-point victory at home. They've lost to Providence. There's been a couple disappointing losses, I think, for the Badgers this season, but here they stand in the conference, 10-3 overall. Nebraska, as we know, sits at 12-2. Wisconsin 2-0 in Big Ten play. Nebraska sits at 2-1. Wisconsin is 7-1 at the Kohl Center at home this season. Nebraska, as we know, 1-1. Both these teams come in on a pretty nice winning streak. Wisconsin's won 3 in a row, and Nebraska winners of 5 straight. So pretty good feeling, I think, around Husker Nation right now, going in with a 5-game winning streak. Now, if they're, like Rico said, if they're able to steal one against Wisconsin, or at least keep it competitive, I think that that's the biggest key, is don't allow this to be a blowout. Don't, for goodness sakes, don't be up by 10 or double digits going into halftime and then lose by double digits when it's all said and done. Figure out a way to get things figured out and finalized. And if Nebraska comes away with a victory, great. If they lose by fewer than 5, that's fine, because you were able to get a big one last night in the form of Indiana, and you have another great opportunity coming up for you on Tuesday. It's going to be a quick turnaround, as we know, right? Wednesday to Saturday, fly back, and then you got a number 1 team in the country in the Purdue Boilermakers, and their 13-1 record coming in on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Really good crowd last night. A round of applause.
Good job, everyone.
For the crowd last night at Pinnacle Bank Arena. It was a good one. I'm not sure if these guys are listening, but Rico, last night I was walking on the concourse, and all of a sudden I hear, "That's Big Swim." Oh my gosh, that's Big Swim.
No way.
And I turn around, and these 2 guys were looking at me. And
nobody said that.
I have a name. My name is Nick.
I
don't care about the Big Swim part. They did, unfortunately.
Nick's
so now
popular.
The Big Swim apparel should be coming to the 93.7 The Ticket store soon, hopefully. Big Swim apparel. But nonetheless, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about a game tonight with Nebraska basketball. The women will travel to Madison this evening and play an 8 p.m. tip-off against the Badgers. We'll highlight that to close out the noon hour. You're listening to the Happy Hour on 93.7 The Ticket.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. More of Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Rick Heyman from Sartor Heyman Jewelers, inviting you to our new outlet jewelry store at 12th and O in downtown Lincoln. Amazingly, we still have fabulous items we bought 1 year ago and beyond. Well, you know what an outlet store is. Unbeatable prices throughout the store. Closeouts up to 70% off. Don't delay. When it's gone, it's gone. You won't see everything on our website, so you gotta come in. The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Opening November 25th in Lincoln at 12th and O.
If you want all the latest technologies from those big banks, but you also want that hometown feel when you walk in the front doors, choose Midwest Bank. They have top-notch technology. They make banking so easy, and they also have the friendliest staff, who will take their time to get to know you and treat you like family. You get the best of both worlds when you choose Midwest Bank. I live on the go, and now I can bank on the go. With Midwest Bank, I have everything I need at my fingertips. I'm volleyball player Allie Batenhorst, and at Midwest Bank, you'll love banking here.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree, and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit OakStreetCarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
Oak Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Ready to upgrade your combine with new technology to make your harvest more efficient, meaning more money in your pocket? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine for harvest. Plus, when you purchase a pre-owned combine from Landmark, you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network, along with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running, reducing downtime. View inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
What do you think of when you hear the chocolate season? Artisan chocolates? Of course, they have the best chocolates this side of the Atlantic. Friendly neighborhood coffee shop? Yup, they're that too. A nationally recognized top-tier brunch spot. Waffle weekends, baby. And the place to grab a gift for literally any occasion? Everybody loves chocolate. See for yourself at the Chocolate Season, 40th and Old Cheney, or order ahead online at thechocolateseason.com.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. We'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And to show our appreciation, Koppel is offering some huge holiday discounts from now until January 2nd. On select new Chevrolet vehicles, we are offering $8,000 off MSRP or 1.9% financing. Yes, you heard right. That's $8,000 off or 1.9% financing on select new Chevrolets. We also have some huge discounts on our new GMC inventory, so stop on in or check us out online at koppelcars.com. Includes finance, trade, and Costco bonus with roof credit. Stock number C299464.
The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
I used to be a weight guy. I used to love
You ain't
weight.
never been a weight guy. That's a lie.
Let me tell you something.
You've
I
never
was
been
in
a weight guy.
I was in a 300-pound club
No,
in
sir.
high school.
No,
Yes.
sir. Are you kidding
Yes.
me? That 315 pounds would have sent him through the. He'd have been 6 feet
Bob.
under trying to figure out how
Bob.
to get up out that hole.
That's how
you ain't never been nowhere near that platform to get up there for Lifter of the Year. You.
I don't want to be lifter of the year. I
So
want to be
how
the
in
player of the year. You want to be a lifter of the year when you want to be the player of the year. Nobody care about weights.
Are you in the market for a new garage door or need to repair your old one? It's wintertime, and that means snow, wind, and freezing temperatures, all things that can cause sticky locks and damage to your door. If you're experiencing any issues with your commercial or residential garage door during the winter months, call Cameron Hall and his team at Doors Plus. Don't be trapped outside in the cold because of a poorly maintained garage door. Call Doors Plus today at 402-590-5800 or visit them online at doorsplusllc.com. Doors Plus, garage doors and more.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. 93.7 The Ticket. Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
The Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see some areas of fog. Otherwise, cloudy skies are expected for today. We'll see higher on 35. Tonight, mainly cloudy skies with a low around 25. And tomorrow, mainly cloudy skies will continue throughout the day. We'll see a high around 37. I'm meteorologist Kyle Clucker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
This isn't the real Caesar's Palace, is it?
What do you mean?
Did Caesar live here?
No.
I didn't think so.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Real quickly here, but as we close out the noon hour, yes, it is past 1 p.m., but that's all right. This is technically the last segment of the noon hour. Nebraska women's basketball tonight. They're sneakily good, 10-3 record, coming off of a victory against the Maryland Terrapins last weekend. Will face off against the Wisconsin Badgers tonight. Wisconsin currently 0-2 in the conference and 7-5 overall. Wisconsin got boat raced by Iowa and then got boat raced even more by Purdue last time out. Excuse me. So now tonight, 8 p.m., Nebraska travels to Wisconsin. It has gone under the radar that Sunday there's a jersey retirement.
Yes.
People are not aware, I think, of this jersey retirement for Jordan Hooper, former Husker women's basketball star, getting her jersey retired on Sunday.
Everyone's aware of Pack PBA, but they don't know why.
Yeah, everybody wants to pack PBA. Obviously, the Indiana Hoosiers coming to town. A top 15 team in the country is Indiana women's basketball. Currently sit with an 11-1 record due to the Hoosiers. But when you look at Sunday, right? By the way, Indiana will play actually before Nebraska tonight against Michigan at 6 p.m. Nebraska plays Wisconsin at 8 p.m. this evening before Indiana travels to Lincoln on Sunday. 1 p.m. tip-off on Sunday, January 7th. And once